recognize some other elected officials that are here tonight. I see Representative Mullery back here, Representative. I see Linda Higgins over here, yeah, and Bobby Joe Champion. Are there any others that I should be that I may have missed? Okay, thank you. Darlene Benjamin, representing Congressman Ellison. And I mentioned that we'd have one asterisk, and that is that Bobby Joe Champion is asked to speak as he's been waiting here for a while, and so he's asked to kick us off tonight if he would. So, Representative.
As the representative is coming forward, can I just make one announcement? There's a Volkswagen with license plate WLE439. Your lights are on.
It's
what color?
NLE.
Oh, NLE 439. What color is it?
White, it's a white.
White Volkswagen. Your lights are on.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, and good evening, directors. And thank you for this opportunity to come and speak. As I always say, is that I'm a proud graduate of North High School. What I will say is, one, I'm really challenged about the proposal that's been put on the table, but I think that there's an opportunity for us to use this unfortunate set of circumstances as a way to think about education in a different way. As a state representative, I'm looking at your North High enrollment graph, and I'm also looking at the years of decline. The first thing that I'll say is, because it's my understanding, I'm talking fast because I only get, that I only get 2 minutes is my understanding. When you look at North High School and the circumstances that it finds itself in, I think that there's been neglect. I think, unfortunately, that there hasn't been a real plan about how do we make sure that we create a premier high school in North Minneapolis in real time. When you think in terms of the feeder schools, for an example, a lot of discussion has been around attendance. And if you look on the slide here, in 2001, the Choice is Yours program began. In 2001, North still had roughly 1,200 students, 1,200 to 1,300 students. So we know that even post Choice is Yours program, that their enrollment was still at 1,300, even in the middle of 2002 and 2003. Now, that's interesting for us to point out, because that means that North survived the whole notion of people being able to decide to go someplace else, that people were still making the decision to be here at North High School. Then the other question that I don't necessarily see the graphic on is open enrollment. And so post-2001, even though most people think about 9/11, North was still thriving as an institution, as a higher learning institution. Now, the thing that I think is important for us to look at is, what are some of the things that North High offered that made it attractive to not just North Minneapolis, but attractive citywide? It's my understanding that there are a number of those programs, like Sumatech, for an example, or Visual for Performing Arts. Some of the other things that people gravitated to that were taken out of North High. Therefore, those things were being taken out of North High. It no longer became attractive. Now, if you look at your own graph, and oh, my time's up.
Just hear me out for a second. I recognize that the representative has a lot of people here who he was speaking on behalf of, so I was going to offer to extend this to 5 minutes. But understand, please, that I'm sure one or two of you will stand up and your 2 minutes is up, and you're going to say, I want my 5 like the representative did. So just understand that the representative has 5 minutes, and we're going to be abiding by the rules. Please continue.
Thank you, and I'll be expeditious. And so when you think in terms of open enrollment, and when you think of Choice is Yours, they survived it, but there are these programs that were instrumental to its growth and development and its reputation that were taken out of North High School. And so there's something else that interesting happened, and this is not to throw anyone under the bus. I'm just looking at the graphs and looking at the turn of events, right? we know that the feeder schools that fed into North High School were cut. So 8 schools were closed in North Minneapolis. When you think in terms of Lincoln and Willard and some of the other schools that were important in order to make sure that they were developing the pool of future polars, those schools were cut. Now there's something else that happened because unfortunately there was a comment made by our city council member, and I'm not throwing him under the bus, I'm just raising this as something that's important to think about when you think in terms of the decline in the population here at North High School. There was a comment made that we all know about. But what was interesting about this is not only that he made the comment, but it was the response of the board when no one came out and said anything positive about North High School. So now, you also couple that with principals who were coming in and out of North High School. There's no stability that was happening here at North High School. And so when you put and aggregate all those things together, from the choice is yours and to open school, even though North survives those things, the feeder schools being cut, there was another thing that happened. The home zone that North High sat in, North High never had a home zone anymore. Somewhere there was a decision that says, hey, we want to make North a citywide zone. But when there was the decision for it to be a citywide zone, there was no marketing that was done in order to say to other people across the city, because remember, those wonderful programs had been taken out, that said, here's why you should come to North High School. What's tragic is that I have a school-age cousin who lives directly across the street from North. And you know, she sits, and now she's of high school age, but she sits in the zone across the street from North for Henry High School. Right? And so even though we'll say, well, North has no boundaries because it's citywide, most people will always go, usually where they're zoned to go. Even if you get some people who says, well, I'm going to go someplace else, there's always that real notion. But now, let me say the overarching issue that I have, even when I think in terms of all the different things that have occurred up to this particular point, is that there has been disrespect shown to North Minneapolis. Because when you think about the disrespect in North Minneapolis, what am I saying? I'm saying, number one, we know that when you go to buy a house, that the first thing that they ask you, or that I ask, is there strong schools in that area? If we have no schools in that area, if we have no high school, so how will we stabilize our economy here in North Minneapolis? And when you think in terms of the disrespect that I'm speaking of, in addition to that, is the lack of civic engagement. No one gave us an opportunity to, number one, understand the problem. Number two, be a part of the solution. Number three, trust our intellectual capacity so that we can put forth real ideas. And when there's a failure to do that, guess what? Then we are put, unfortunately, in the position of it coming across like we're just whining. We're not just whining. There would be no one in any other district, be it Southwest, be it South Minneapolis, that will allow this to happen, nor would you do this to any of those districts and allow it to happen. We're thinking about the people. What about the people? So even when you look at your last graph, it shows in 2006 something happened. What happened? When you think in terms of that, where it started declining, you see where it's 964, then it goes on to 634. Well, one of the things I know that you had a popular principal here by the name of Michael Favors. Now, after a whole lot of different principals were coming and going, right? This popular principal is no longer there. So he took staff with him because they liked him, because nobody said anything to even defend him on North High School when the comment was made that I talked about earlier. He took, my time is up, okay. I'm sorry. And so let's just say, we are interested in working with you. We're interested in you demonstrating your commitment to continue to invest in our community instead of divest from our community.